pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a roll call, please.
Jason Tron.
Here.
Joel Fibet.
Joel.
Or
George.
George.
Is here.
Sorry. That's your son.
Yes, he's not here.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Victoria Helander Heiser.
Here.
Robin Cleek.
Here.
Wes Poland here. Matt Jacobs.
Here.
Sonali Patel.
Here.
George, I'm sorry.
It's fine.
All present. Anybody from the public wishes to comment? Going once, twice, gone. Next is recognition. I would like to recognize our Science Olympiad teams at Middle North for placing second at the West Ottawa International Competition, and our Townline Science Olympiad, our only elementary school, one of the few that participates, and all the students medaled in the event that they entered in. So I'd like to thank all the coaches, the teachers, the coaches who put this together. I want to give a special shout out to Coach Luke Wu. He's a 7th grader in middle school who coached one of our Townline events. Wow. And they medaled. So
wow.
Congratulations, Luke, and we are extremely proud of you.
That's really cool.
Next is the President's Report. Anybody else want to recognize anybody else that I forgot?
There's probably a million people to recognize.
President's Report. I'll hand it over to Abe regarding the kindergarten building. Our last meeting, we got approvals for all our ordinances and special permits and.
Yes, so after the last board meeting, as I had discussed, we were going to have a meeting with all the concerned parties, the library, the park district, as well as the village. It happened to be that really cold day that Wednesday, and we all still came in, had a really good meeting. We communicated, talked about some of the concerns that the village may have had, and provided bullet points, elements as far as what transpired in the past that got us to this point, and ensuring the fact that we would all be on the same page going into that board meeting. And we were, and it showed. So very happy to report that it passed.
And the next steps, or the next meeting is on the 19th, right? When we actually get our formal permission for the permits, right?
Correct. The formal action item will be on the 19th. Yeah.
At the village meeting on the 19th. And can you just give us what the timeline is right now for the rest, some of the events that are lined up for the kindergarten?
Well, I can give me a few minutes.
Yeah.
I can pull up the timeline. We're currently out to bid. Bids are due. I can pull up the timeline. Give me a minute.
Sorry, I don't mean to put you on. But we are planning on having the bids, and Abe, Mike, the superintendent will go through the bids and awarding the contract for the mid-March meeting, right? That's the timeline we are trying to shoot for.
That is correct. That's the goal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the next important date is for the 19th for the village meeting to get the permits as a formal action item.
So the bid openings are February 19th. And that'll be at the Park District facility. The scope reviews will be conducted between, from the 19th through the 24th. And it is our hope to bring forward recommendations at the board meeting on March 11th.
Okay. Superintendent's report.
A couple of things to share with you tonight. First of all, during the holiday season, we as an administrative team decided we would like to, instead of the usual, go out and tear apart Buffalo Wild Wings with some hot sauce and a beer. We decided to do something very meaningful. I give Karen a lot of credit. Karen back that way, we went as a group, pretty much the whole administrative team, to Feed My Starving Children, and packaged food for children who are malnourished in the country of Djibouti. And we had a lot of fun with the title because it's very difficult to spell. But we had an amazing team building experience. And that evening that we gave up actually turned into raising almost $800 for feeding starving children in Africa, specifically in Djibouti. But it was something that I'd heard about this and had other people say, hey, it's a great experience. It's something you really want to do. We were there that evening with groups, scout groups, with companies who did this as an outing for kind of a social type event. It was just a great spirit and a great camaraderie, and we really had a good time. And we sang and we danced and we did all kinds of goofy things, but we represented Hawthorne and the Vernon Hills community really well. We were very prominent there, and with our shirts and things like that. So something really special, and it's worth noting and worth talking about. Secondly, had an experience today which was really kind of uplifting. Dimitri hosted tech directors from 50 different districts or so at the Sullivan Center, and talking about one-to-one and progress districts are making with their one-to-one programs. And I stood around for a little bit, heard some really good success stories, heard some people say, hey, we're running into problems here and there. It was a great sharing experience, but it was also a good opportunity for us to talk a little bit about District 73. And while I don't know all that much about our technology, won't expect to be an expert, it was nice to be able to greet those folks and tell them, hey, if you look out the window, you're going to see our new school going up next year at this time. So it was a real pleasant thing. Thank you, Dimitri, for inviting me and for us being able to be the center of attention for gathering these 50 people. One person from Oak Park River Forest High School and from Wisconsin. They were from all over. So it's nice when we can be, again, the center of attention. The next thing, we have a dinner. All of the board members have been invited, and that is March 13th. It's the Lake Division of the Illinois Association of School Boards annual dinner. I've been going to these things for years. Sometimes it's really good. Sometimes you want to leave early. I'm just being honest.
It's true.
But it looks like they have a really good speaker here. I know one of them, and this could be valuable. So Bobby is trying to collect your interest. I know she sent out an invite, and if you are interested in going. And we also reached out and invited all the candidates for board seats to see if they would like to go, because there's a training also associated with this. So that's the 13th. We have a little time to collect your interest. Please let us know right away. Next, I want to talk a little bit about some of the legislative stuff that's happening in Springfield. As you know, we were relieved of our responsibility of a 5-hour minimum. That looks like isn't going to happen for the long run. And just today received a legislative report saying that, and I'm going to paraphrase a little bit. Last week, the Senate Education Committee approved Senate Bill 28, which would reinstate the 5 clock-hour provision in the school calendar. The alliance, which we belong to, we're part of an alliance with school administrators, principals, the superintendent's group, and school board association to lobby on behalf of legislation that might work for or against us, is taking a strong stand against this. So let me go back a little bit. When I think it's 2 years ago, when the evidence-based funding model was approved in Springfield, unbeknownst to most people, there was a little provision in it that said the school calendars as we know them will no longer be in effect, basically saying you can do whatever you want. It kind of slipped by, and everyone took notice, and people did creative things with their calendar. A lot of districts have done some things with e-learning, all kinds of new opportunities, and kind of get the creative juices flowing. Well, it didn't take long before there was an objection. The objection was filed by the Illinois Federation of Teachers, and they are leading the charge to reinstate the 5 clock hour day. There is no question this is going to be reinstated. It passed out of the committee 19-0. So we're looking at being back at the drawing board. And the reason I'm bringing this up and talking about it is because there's a lot of questions about the calendar. When's the first day of school? When's the last day of school? At our last meeting, we adopted the framework of the calendar, but until the state of Illinois approves our calendar, it's never official. Right now, to Bobby's dismay, the state of Illinois is not accepting any calendars for approval. So we're getting calls. I'm sure you are, as board members say, hey, you know, when's the first day of school? When's the last day of school? We're on hold until this gets settled. And so it looks like the 5-hour clock day will be applicable to next year's calendar. The good thing for us is we adopted a calendar with the 5-hour clock day in mind. So we shouldn't be, impacted by it at all. Actually, we should come out okay. The key is everything's being held up all at once. So it's conceivably possible we may not even see the calendar approval until March or April. Remember, there's elections coming up. So a lot of things are hung up in this. So this is something that we would prefer, our district, speaking as a superintendent, we would prefer not to have any strings attached. We would prefer to be able to do our own calendar without any limitations, but that's not going to be the case. So we will be back to the 5-hour minimum school day, 174 or 176 days. We're not sure yet either. So this is all winding through the legislature.
Can you clarify which subjects are considered for the direct supervision under this 5-hour minimum? Because I know obviously it doesn't include things like lunch and recess. You know, we have longer than obviously a 5-hour day. What instruction is included in this direct teacher supervision?
It's everything, including, it's from the time the students enter till they leave. 5 hours must be part of that. So that would include
like related
lunch.
arts, PE.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. You don't separate out the individual, like, extras.
So it's not by subject matter?
No. It's the presence of the student for the day.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So now this is going to be a big debated thing down the road.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those things that will have a long life. We'll be asked to weigh in on it. And we are part of a lobby group, EdRed, and Vicki is now our new representative, and Bobby today collected the information, I think contacted them. So you should be invited to their lobbying efforts, and we'll get some kind of firsthand information. And we want to use that. This impacts us, and we want to be able to have a voice. So it's a really critical piece. The other piece that our group, that our lobbying group is not supporting is the raising of the minimum wage. Now, this is kind of a controversial topic throughout the state. And our organization feels that it would would apply to all schools. Let me get this. It would put unnecessary financial burdens on school districts. And there's a lot more deeper explanation than that, but it's out there, it's going to be talked about, and we may be needing to weigh in. And Vicki, when EdRed decides to take their formal stand, you may want to poll our board just to see how we feel about that. The 5-hour clock day will impact us. The minimum wage will impact us. So there are things happening in Springfield that we really have to pay attention to. Now, one last item, I don't want to hog this whole meeting, but one last item is, yes, George.
Oh, you can finish. I have
Jason.
a question, but
I was going to talk about this snow day makeup.
Okay. So the question on the 5-hour clock minimum, you said it will affect us, but our calendar was built to take into consideration the 5 hours. So how will it affect us?
Down the road, our ability to maybe do e-learning days or things like that. It won't affect us this next year.
Okay.
Actually, they should let ours through. We have a clean, direct calendar, but until these things are all sorted out, and there's a portal that the State Board of Education uses, and it does check things off, runs through the
So there's
Regional Office of
There's
Education.
no direct effect to us now, given our existing calendar. It's just a potential in terms of
Unless they
less
change the number of
flexibilities.
minimum days
Okay, got it.
from 176 to 174.
Just a potential loss of control down the road.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's down the road where we were looking at being creative, innovative. That won't be able to be done, within the confines of a 5-hour day.
And
Learn
right
at
now,
home days.
our calendar that we did tentatively approve, that's built in at 176 days, right?
Mhm, that's correct.
Okay.
So do you know the argument to have that in there? I mean, if it removes flexibility from us, what's the counter argument on I don't know, whoever's supporting this to
Oh,
that
I
would-
know.
what's,
the
I just can't think
argument.
about it. It's so
I
important.
want to be very open here. I'm not taking sides or criticizing anyone. This was enacted by the last legislature. The legislature was Democratic, it still is, overwhelmingly so now. The governor signed it, Republican governor. The chief lobbyist for the Illinois Federation of Teachers, not the Illinois Education Association, the Illinois Federation of Teachers, objected, saying he did not feel that he wanted to give away, without bargaining, such an important piece as the calendar. So it's become a political football.
Okay, so it's nothing to do with something better for our kids?
No,
Wow.
he's been quoted in the paper.
Okay.
I'm not making this up, and I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. This has been quoted in the news. I get all these reports, and it's a political football right now. Somebody's saying, well, if we get this, what are you giving up? Or you didn't give anything up, and we lost this. We lost the flexibility. We lost the rigidness of a 5-day calendar. A lot of people like that. A 5-hour day, rather.
Okay.
Yeah, it's bouncing around Springfield big time. Not next week, the week after is Lobby Day in Springfield. All kinds of administrators, teachers, union leaders will be going down to lobby legislators on various issues. So you'll see a lot of news on the TV reporting from that.
Thank
Good
you.
question. The last piece, calendar, snow days, all of that. So far, we've used 4 days. There was a rumor going around, and I know who started it because I know the person. And the rumor said, we will be able to go to Governor Pritzker, because he's new, and get him to declare emergency days that will not need to be made up. That rumor flew all over. It was all over Lake
I
County.
heard it once.
Made it to everything. It actually became a topic at the Lake County Superintendent's meeting. We had a legislators' breakfast 2 weeks ago. By the way, we're very lucky. We have 2 really, really good people representing our area. I was very impressed with Mary Edley. I
great.
had not met her before, and I've met Dan Dedich, and we're very lucky. They represent us well. But it turns out that this rumor was just conjecture. There is no such thing. We must use all 5 of our emergency days before we can apply for a waiver.
So we have used 4. So
We have
used the
used
2
4.
So we used 2 for the President's Day and the Pulaski Day, and then 2 at the end of the year right now, right?
We have what, 1 left? 2, yeah, 1.
Can you clarify for the 8th graders whether school ends on graduation or not? Because these are rumors going back and forth about whether the 8th graders continue on after graduation, which they typically do not, but we haven't had this many snow days in a long time.
Yeah, that is a good question. Everybody's going to be facing that. Typically, graduation is the end of the
Right.
line. Unfortunately, graduation is generally set 6-8 months
Right.
ahead of time, and we're not prepared for adding so many extra days.
Right.
If it's only one day at the end, I think, what are we at, one day?
We're already at 2.
Two, we could probably keep it as it is. If it changes, we might have to revisit that.
Okay.
So there's a chance
Can you
that it
stop
could
by my
push
house and
back.
tell that to my 8th graders so I don't have to? That'd be helpful, thanks.
Yeah. Those are all questions. People are afraid to make any kind of plan because we don't know what the rest of the winter is going to be like. We've got the rest of February to go. We got tonight to go through. So we're a little concerned. I'm going to say this. If we add 3 days to the end, we'll probably revisit looking at moving the graduations.
Right. Okay.
There's just no other way to do that. But I'll whisper that typically graduation is the end for kids.
Okay. Thanks.
Any new business that we want to talk about? Any announcements? We already did all of that. Okay. Could I have a motion to adjourn the committee of the whole?
I move that we adjourn the committee of the whole meeting.
Second.
Motion by Robin, seconded by Wes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7 ayes, 0 nays. A call to order the regular business meeting. Could I have a roll call, please?
Jason Tron.
Here.
George Bavette.
Here.
Victoria Helander-Heiser.
Here.
Robin Cleek.
Here.
Wes Pullen here. Matt Jacobs.
Here.
Sonali Patel.
Here. 7 present, 0 absent. Anybody from the public wishes to comment? Going once, twice, gone. Recognition, there's no presentation, there's no motions. The next is consent agenda, which is board meeting minutes from January 28th. That's it. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Motion by Robin, seconded by Wes. Could I have a roll call, please?
Jason Tron.
Aye.
George Bavette.
Aye.
Victoria Helander-Heiser.
Aye.
Robin Cleek.
Aye.
Wes Pullen, aye. Matt Jacobs.
Aye.
Sonali Patel.
Aye. Motion passes 7 ayes, 0 nays. We have nothing else. Anybody, topics for future meetings? Anybody? Since we have kind of slowed down or have at least a breather, which we didn't have for the past few months, could we start getting some, just reports on various departments and activities and things going on in our schools, as well as our
that you
central
shared
office?
with me.
Anything else?
The real key is, though, we should celebrate this because the purpose of the Board of Education meeting is to conduct the business of the Board of Education, and we're doing a good job when we can get to this point. We really are. We shouldn't feel that we have to fill an agenda for entertainment purposes. We should feel that we've got a purpose to what we're doing. And so we should feel really, really good to the point where we've gotten tonight. My first meeting, what is it, 11:30, something like that?
No.
It was long.
It was long. It was long. And Joe and I
You're looking
turned
at
to
me
each
like I was the
other.
one doing the talking, which I do, but still.
Joe and I turned to each other and said, we got to do something about this. And this is good. Trust us. This is really good. And
Don't
there
give him
will be-
ideas.
There will be a bunch of other. Joe's stuck in Wisconsin tonight, and I know he would second this. But the fact is that these board meetings, when you're efficient and you get things done to the point, it makes everybody else have great confidence in the Board of Education.
Do you have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
No one seconded
I'll
my
second it.
comment?
Can I second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7 ayes, 0 nays. Thank you, everybody. Everybody's out before it starts.
There will be school tomorrow. We are not planning on canceling school.
Thank you.
We're recording off.
At the last meeting, we were up and
Look at him. He shut the
You turned it
recording.
on. You must make sure you don't have to eat
Yeah.
your words.